looks like the broadcast was deleted on Facebook. Try creating a new post or just remove the destination from the bonus, then re-add it. What? Anyway, here we are.
I got the notification.
No, I did not get the notification on Facebook either, but here we are. We're just doing the pre-show, as Scotty would call it. And it looks like the Facebook one didn't go through, so we're just going to have to re-add it. But here we are at the pre-show. I just want to say hi to Phil Guy, who says he was one of the first here. Susie Q, hi, Grumpy Stack, and let me see.
My chat is not. I gotta repopulate mine. Mine is not showing up to date.
Is it not showing on your Facebook?
Oh, they're on Facebook. Oh no, I'm not in Facebook. I'm only on YouTube. Oops.
I'm going to have to send the link over. So anyway, welcome. This is just a pre-show that everyone can hear us. We can always send the link over to Roger Rabbit. Thank you. That's a very nice compliment. Anyway, guys, listen, welcome to the show. This is the pre-show. I am Wendy. This is my lovely, lovely companion tonight, Carly, who is stepping in for the poorly Val. And we are going to go dark, as Scotty would say, in a minute, and we will be back with you shortly.
Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the show. Is it Super Sundays or Sloppy Sundays or Silly Sundays?
I'm not sure. It's like, this is pretty late here, but let me just bring this up. And okay, here we go. So I'm going to go dark. I'm going to take you out for a second, Carly. And yeah, and we will see you shortly when I get this lovely thing up. Okay, let's go. And we're back. We're back in the room. Hello, sweetie. Hello, sweetie again. Right, okay. Welcome to Wicked Women. That's my alarm just going off now. See, all these technical things go on. Scotty's always having them. Welcome to Wicked Women number 1, episode 1. And sadly, my two lovely co-hosts couldn't be here tonight. Rainey is been out of town, and Val is not at all well. So Val, we're sending you lots of love and positive energy, and hopefully you'll be feeling better. We miss you, but the show has to go on, and so many people have been wanting to see Wicked Women. They've been asking, when is it coming? What's it going to be like? And so Val and I chatted tonight, and we thought we would go ahead. You might know me. I'm Wendy Robertson, one of your hosts. I am from a very little show on a Tuesday night called Robertson, where I am with my lovely podcast hubby, Scotty Robertson. And tonight with me as my special guest and co-host from Northwest Indiana is Carly.
Hello, hello. Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing excellent now that I'm on your show tonight. Thank you.
Listen, I am so grateful for you filling in tonight. Thank you so much. And hope I didn't put you on the spot too much.
Not at all. Not at all. This is right up my alley. So this has worked out perfectly. You know, they say, as cliche as it is, everything truly does happen for a reason.
You know, I'm a great believer of that. I absolutely believe that. And I got to say, I love the background. That is so pretty. Look at you with the wings behind you.
Had to, set it up just right.
But it's almost kind of topical, because our first episode is the female of the species being this naughty, bad girl, the one you wouldn't want to argue with in a dark alley. And there's you with the wings behind you completely,
I picked the wrong background. I should have been having the devil horns.
I was going to put my horns on tonight, but I decided not.
I was like,
Because
wait.
I have the horns.
Pause. I might have some within reach. Hold on.
You've got something.
I'm not
Go
even
and grab your
joking.
horns. Go and grab your horns, and I can put mine on too. Oh, I've got the go on then. If you've got yours, I'm going to put mine on. Look, there you go.
You got yours too.
Would do if I put it on the right way. Hang on, let's go. How's that?
Yes.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Now it's right.
There was a song a couple of years ago, Carly. I don't know if you ever heard it. It was called "The Female of the Species is Deadlier Than the Male."
I have not, but I love that is the title of the show.
Absolutely. Google it and you'll find it. And it was very, very popular because throughout history, females, women, whatever you want to call them, have been seen to be the naughty ones, the bad ones, the girlies that change history, that they're deadlier, And I think over the years, certain culture and media has actually shown that as well. It's literally, if you look at some of the movies, including one of my favorite, Fatal Attraction, which obviously Glenn Close was so brilliant in, but you kind of got the words bunny boiler from somewhere and such words like that. So what we were going to look at tonight is, are women deadlier than the male? And if we are, why are we? And one thing I must say before we go much further, Wicked Women will be coming to you every Sunday live on Facebook and YouTube, although for some reason tonight it's not going to Facebook. And we are a podcast by women for women, although we like the gentlemen to come on board and, put their input in as well. And I hope that each Sunday you will join us. Now, don't get me wrong, I can't do the thing like Scotty does all the times. Is it 5 o'clock? You do the Americans, I'll do the UK.
There we go.
So
because you're 6 hours ahead of me, I think, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I think it's 5 CST or something, and 6 T, and then 11 p.m. UK time. I think that's right.
That's right. You got it.
So if I said to you, Carly, like, women are deadlier than the male, what kind of image does that portray to you?
Oh boy, where to begin? It just immediately takes me into like the serial killers and everything like we're going to be talking about in criminal justice, because that was something that I had studied, and it just leads me to think about all of the avenues and ways that we can talk about this topic.
Yeah.
And the things are literally just endless, because like I was talking to you about earlier, men and women are literally genetically made differently. You can't argue about it. You can't argue biological genetics. Women are designed to be able to handle multitasking and capabilities more so than men. It's just simple mathematics and genetics. It's not even arguing anything. It's just basics. And so just putting that on the ground, to level ground to start with, like, that's enough to already say, hey, us women can be more sadistic.
And we were talking earlier on today, and I was saying to you about the female cat. Like, female cat will torture their poor victims, and the male cat will just kill them and but the female likes to torment them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were also talking about is it the female wasp? The yellow jacket is the one that stings you.
That is correct. The males can sting. They typically don't. They can, but it's the female yellow jacket that stings.
So so you're telling me that every time I see one of those things buzzing around me, it's a woman.
Yeah,
that I should be worried
telling
about.
you
It's the
that
woman I should be worried
that
about.
annoying thing buzzes around you that's about to sting you. Yep, it's a woman.
It's interesting because if you look back at history, starting with Adam and Eve, like Eve was seen to be the bad one. You know, she was the naughty girl that tempted Adam and said, "Hi, here's an apple. Want a bite?" Right? And he was like, "I'm going for it."
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you know, the serpent in the tree, who obviously persuaded them, but you know, she was hungry. You know, what can I say? She was hungry. She wanted it. But starting from Eve, it's gone like she was the one that tempted Adam. She was the one that took them out of Eden. She was the one that was like, no, no, no. You know, she was the bad one. So all the way back, it's been like females are, you know, are the ones that you need to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a bit like perturbed about that. And then over the years, like looking at some of the women in history, like Mary Magdalene, is it Mary Magdalene? Helena Troy, you know, very beautiful women that were just, you know, one had you know, what was it? The Greeks and everything came to blows over it because obviously, like, she ran off with Paris and wanted to be with him, and they sent an army after her. She's got to be good looking to do that, and obviously, like with Jesus and Mary. She was written out pretty much of the Bible. So even in the beginning, women are seen as dodgy. And I'm just seeing what Phil Guy is saying. Whatever you say, let me bring this up. Whatever you say, dear, oh crap, you doomed us all now. Well, we try, you know. And Randall says here, look, Black Widow, anyone? Very true. Eats the male after sex. Well, you know, we do our best.
They got a little hungry. What can we say?
Well, you know, we were busy. Yeah, they were obviously very busy, and they get really tired. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Steph. Lovely
I'm
to see.
trying to get the comments up on my other phone, but I swear it's like not up to date.
It's really difficult to see the comments on your mobile because sometimes if you look at them, it cuts you out. This is the problem on this.
I know
Okay.
I have like 3 devices and a TV going. We're gonna
Like you
get there.
gotta watch yourself in stereo.
It's our first night, guys. Cut us some slack.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, StreamYard is very temperamental. And Scotty and I found that sometimes with Robertson. And like last night when Scotty and I were trying to do this, it was playing up. It wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. So as Scotty would say, you know, bada boom, it is what it is. Let me see. Hi, Barbara D. I'm just checking I haven't missed anyone. If I have, apologies. Do you remember when we were talking about certain women that have been deadlier than the male? And I want to bring up a little picture, and I'm just going to bring this in so people know. There are 2 particular ladies we talked about earlier on today, and they're very well known in the UK and probably, I guess, around the world. One would be Myra Hindley, and one would be Rose West. And I know you did a SWOT up on those 2 today.
I did.
And literally, I wondered what you thought of those 2 ladies.
Well, first, I wanted to double check with you on Miss Ann West because I meant to check with you beforehand, but as you know, it's been a crazy busy day.
Rose West, yes, that's right.
Rose West. Okay, so that was right. So I was like, okay, so they were actually a killing team. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I don't recall them like we discussed earlier. I studied serial killers in one of my undergraduate classes, and we're from the U.S. though, so you know we didn't touch on them as much. So I was very fascinated to learn about them being a killing team and what they did to their daughters and the women and just Wow. Like, I don't know, you guys might have deeper serial killers in the US.
Well, we like to pride ourselves on our serial killers here.
Apparently so. You win, number one.
Rose West is let's look at Rose West first. She's a very interesting character. I actually did my study for my diploma on Fred West, and for those that don't know, Fred and Rose West were a husband and wife, and he's known to be one of the prolific serial killers in the UK. 27 women, as far as they know, and that's the ones that they know about so far, including two of his daughters and his ex-wife. Lovely character. Really interesting to do a thesis on him, that's for sure. Rose is an interesting character because she seems to be groomed as a child from her dad. Her dad was known to be quite abusive, quite aggressive. There's rumors of abuse there. So when she met Fred, she basically, it was like what I think you get used to. You kind of get drawn into. I've known that at home. I've now found a relationship like it. It feels familiar. I'm going to stay. And she actually was found guilty of killing one of his daughters, 8-year-old Charmaine. To me, I can't possibly understand what went through her head when she did something like that. But to me, as a woman, and she was a mother as well, she was a mother with a child of her own, she is completely deadly.
And I was also surprised to learn too that Fred experienced not actually surprised, but I read, how Fred was also exposed to abuse growing up by both his father and his mother. His father actually had relationships with his daughter too,
That's
and
right.
taught him how to do the relationships with his daughters, and also taught him bestiality. And then his mother, although he didn't specifically admit to it, they know that it's true, that she started abusing him sexually when he was 12. So that's a huge thing that I don't know if most people know or not with serial killers, is they were sexually abused themselves.
Yeah.
Typically, like, I forget the percentage, I should have that right now, but I don't. But it's a very, very high percentage that, most people that become serial killers were exposed to some form of abuse in and of itself themselves, which is what in turn, along with all the other experiences they have in their life, turns them into becoming serial killers.
Well, I think Fred West had a relationship with his mother, and she was, and I know that Fred West actually made his own sister pregnant at the age of 13. And completely, beyond belief. So this is a guy that basically grew up to be a groomer, and he married his first wife, and he had an ice cream van. He used to it was well known that he would just take young ladies along and groom them. But Rose, she was very young. She was about 15, 16 when she met him, and I think that part of her would have been used to a lot of abuse that she went through as a child with her dad. And sometimes, you go along with things even if you don't want to. However, having said that, I don't believe she was truly innocent. Not at all. Neither did the jury. But I do want to say that as a mother, definitely, how could she have, a child, an 8-year-old? And then we come to Myra Hindley. And Myra Hindley was another famous serial killer in the UK. And along with Ian Brady, that's right. She killed, I think there was 5 or 6 victims, and they still haven't found, sadly, the little boy. And when you look at these two women, I'm just going to see if I can bring up a picture of these guys, because when you see them, let's have a look. There we go. So this is, that was Myra Hindley and Rose. And even if just by looking at their faces, you can see that they've got that look, haven't they? They've got that, oh my God, they just look scary.
You can see that look in people's eyes when they're that way. They're just like dead in the eye. Look at their eyes. There's no soul there.
No, no,
There's
none
no
at
soul
all.
behind those eyes.
And it's really interesting when this is obviously like both the arrest photographs, but you can just see
Mm-hmm.
the soul is missing from their eyes. Now, obviously, then I want to go on to, like, a couple of weeks ago, we did on Robertson, we did Ruth Ellis, who was the last woman hanged in the UK, and she shot her partner because he was abusive to her. And I have to say, in some ways, I completely agree, because after being with someone who was abusive and alcoholic, who punched her in the stomach, causing her to miscarry. And this little thing, I'm trying to show you this clip, guys, but for some reason, this video just keeps going back to the beginning. So let's talk about this as this comes on. Look at these people that we know from media and also from history. Let's have a look, Carly. So we've got, obviously, Myra Hindley and Rose West. Then we go on to Ruth Ellis, who shot her lover. There she is with him. Now, this is the lady that I was talking about. It was in the, Monster that Charlize Theron in, Anne Boleyn, another one. Then we have a classic here of Fatal Attraction, the lovely Glenn Close, who portrayed it so well. She was the, archetype, dodgy woman, bunny boiler. Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct. Everybody remembers that movie. And The Hand
Mm-hmm.
of the Cradle. I think it was Rebecca De Mornay, I think that was. Those are just some incidences of women, whether in real life or on social media, are shown to be, well, batshit crazy in one way, but completely, dodgy.
Yeah, women, like I was speaking about earlier with our genetics.
Steph,
And
I'm sure you don't have soulless eyes. I'm really sure that you don't. Hi, Anita. I'd love to play that scene, but actually I can't. Copyright and all that. But I'd love to. Scotty is still teaching me StreamYard because I'm still learning. But when you're right about looking at those eyes of Myra and Rose, they are completely dead. And you wonder, is there a devil behind those eyes? Is there something else going on that we're not sure about? Because I know Val did a show a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about behind the eyes of someone, if they're possessed or if there's a devil there or whatever, what makes someone go and do a crime? What makes someone that evil? And when you look, if I bring that lovely picture up again, you can just see with these two ladies here that those eyes are haunting. And I think for me, it's like Rosie's, both of them are serving life. Rose is serving life. Myra's now gone. But when I look about present day, and we look about people like Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, nobody saw anything about her trial. Nothing was put in the news. It was all kept hush hush. This is a lady that knows a lot, but it's been kept hush hush. What's your views on her as a woman?
well, I'm honestly terrified of her, to be honest.
Well, she was supposed to be a groomer for Jeffrey. She was supposed to be the groomer for Jeffrey Epstein, wasn't she? And
Exactly.
she would go and find the girls and then bring them back and
Hmm.
take them to the island. I mean, so as a woman bringing another young innocent girl in, that's a really shitty thing to do.
Yeah, you have to be really twisted in the head to do that. So that leads me back to what I stated before is, what leads them to do this is typically it's trauma. It's
Mhm.
unfortunate and it's not validating it or making it excusable. But most of the time, these people were tormented and witnessed horrific abuse and crimes themselves, and
Yeah.
that's what made them turn into those same crimes that they were exposed to or assaulted with themselves. And they just become what they learned, what they grew up with, because they know no better, and they don't choose to go down the other path. They choose to just stay down going what they were subjected to and what they learned, rather than learning new ways and coping mechanisms, and how to work through that trauma and not become that trauma.
Mm-hmm. And I think also you have to ask, um, as a woman, and you're grooming, like Rose was a groomer. Rose would go out and pick up other women and bring them home so that her and Fred could have their, I don't even want to use the word fun, but abuse, and then they would, you either keep them for a while or they would kill them. And the same with Myra. She would go out and she would find, she would talk to the children because children are more responsive to a woman. So in those instances, the woman is deadlier than the male, because the woman has the softness to say, come here, talk to me. No, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. And that's one of the reasons why when we were talking about it today, we were saying about, yeah, they are in those two cases. But with Ghislaine, you'd have thought she might have known better, but was she scared of him? One wonders if she was scared of someone or something bigger than her. That's why she kept her mouth shut. Obviously, we don't know. And then,
Or was she actually the one behind it all?
well, as her case was never actually allowed out in public. I mean,
No, of course not. They kept it so hush hush. Well, I can't remember what political drama was going on at the time, but there was something that they were shielding and blocking from us to keep us busy while they
yeah,
did her trial behind the scenes.
I like that, Phil Guy. Thanks very much for that comment.
I
But
get lucky and then
so
stab,
cheeky.
stab, stab, stab.
But do you remember last year there was a really public court case talking of that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody pretty much hated Amber Heard, right? Everybody was on Johnny's side. And quite right too, because if you watch that show, which it was a show really rather than a court case, you could just see that was a bloody good show she put on.
Oh yeah.
It was interesting to see that Johnny came to the UK. He took a case against the Sun newspaper. He came over here. Amber was called as a witness, and he lost that libel case against the Sun newspaper, and that's when his career started to go down the pan. And then he decided to then sue Amber Heard for like defamation and everything. And that's when he won it, which thank God he did. And now he must like Britain quite a bit because he lives over here now. But when you look at Amber Heard, you think, wow, you had so much going for you. Man who adored you, money, career. And where is it now? I mean, was it worth it?
Exactly. That would be something that would be really nice to actually ask her, wouldn't it? Get
Well,
a real
I'm not sure.
response.
I'm not sure we'd get the answers we wanted to, but if you think about other women down the road, and I'm just going to throw up some names here that we wrote down, and there's some interesting ones I have to say, like Meghan Markle. Now, Meghan Markle, she is like hated. That poor woman, in one way, can't do a thing right. And another way, we love to hate her because it's like, well, she took Prince Harry from us. She was pretty rude to the Queen. She's pretty rude to everyone, and she's so up her own arse. That's the kind of feeling with Meghan Markle, right? But what are your views on Meghan Markle? What do you think?
To that one, I would say that I'm not as knowledgeable and didn't research as much. So I will plead
But
the
you
fifth on that one.
marrying Prince Harry. Um, she's got money, power, position, and yet she's hated. And she's not coming to the coronation apparently, and a lot of people think she's not coming because she's going to be booed. And then you go to other royals like Princess Diana, who changed the royal family forever. And people were scared. Were people really scared of Princess Diana? Was she seen to be really dangerous, and that's why A, was she taken out, or B, was it an accident? I mean, she's a fascinating. I do not believe that Princess
It was
Diana's.
not an accident.
No,
Mm-mm.
I don't think
Mm-mm. None
anyone.
of those. None of those big ones are accidents.
And
Epstein was not an accident.
the more you read into it, the more you discover that there is so much about that case, like why the ambulance took 3 hours or whatever it was to get to the hospital.
Yeah.
Why, and why did they embalm her pretty quick? She was supposed to come back and have a post-mortem in the UK, and they didn't. So this is a woman that was feared in some ways by, I would say, the government and the royal family. And what is she going to say next? What is she going to do?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think that, when Prince Harry married Meghan Markle, who was welcomed into the family and was like, come in, we love you, you're American, and to bring in, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I'm just going to put this up. Hello, my darling Val. Val's in the room.
Hope you're feeling better.
Miss you. Absolutely, Barbara. I think half the world thinks Harry made a mistake. Absolutely. Phil Guy says the media took out Princess Di because she knew too much. Well, somebody took her out. Not quite sure.
Cheers to that.
And Harry wants to be a rock star. Oh, with that ginger hair, you know that, don't you? And then we come to the other famous royal, and she's going to be incredibly royal, is Camilla Parker Bowles. That is a lady that has caused so much problems in English history, just using her as the female is deadly. Diana always said there are 3 of us in this relationship, so it's a bit crowded. She's now going to be queen, and Princess Diana is dead. That is without saying, this is a lot. Did you like Diana? Were you a Diana fan, or were you a Camilla fan?
No, I was definitely a Diana fan.
What was it about Diana that made you be a fan?
She was genuine, She was real. She wasn't fake. She wasn't puppeteered like most other people.
No, she wasn't. No, and I also think as well, she was emotional, and she was, I would say hormonal as well, but she was very emotional. And I think when you're an emotional person, you let your feelings out, and people see it. And it's almost like keeping those emotions undercover sometimes, especially in a family like the royal family, because you do not show emotions. You do not show if you have a problem. You don't show if you're upset by something, because it's like stiff upper lip. We don't show that. And then Meghan Markle came into the royal family and completely, threw that out. Steph says quite rightly, Meghan wants the notoriety. I absolutely think she does. Did you watch the Netflix show, Carly?
I did not. I need to. Do that tonight. Got my homework for tonight.
It's an interesting show. After six episodes, you're kind of like, where's the forward button? There's only so much I can hear of this shit. But each to their own. That's what I would say.
Me too.
Do you remember another famous American woman who married into the royal family, and that was Wallis Simpson? She was divorced. She was American. She was going to, hopefully, I think she wanted to be the next queen, or at least I know Edward the Eighth, I think, Edward the Seventh or Edward the Eighth. It's late at night. I'm trying to remember my history. But basically, he gave up the throne to marry her. And Wallis Simpson was hated. She was almost blocked by the royal family. She was believed to have destroyed so much of the monarchy, and so much so that our late queen, her father, came to the throne. He shouldn't have come to the throne. His brother should have been there. His brother gave it up to marry the woman he loved because he wasn't allowed to marry a divorcee and an American. And I think she was Catholic as well. So it was like, nope, you're not bringing her in. You can't do it. So it just goes to show that the royal family's come a long way, because here was Wallis Simpson, hated, feared, didn't want, wasn't acknowledged, wasn't included, was just pushed away. Meghan Markle, included, wanted, encouraged, and it still turned out. And it's almost like these women in history that we're talking about, and that they've all made history. And, just to go over that list, let's look at Madonna. There's another one that people have said, well, when she hit fame and she started to have the crucifix and, the pointed bra and everything like that, people were totally shocked. What was your view on Madonna?
I think Madonna was incredible. I think Madonna did her thing. I don't think she was puppeteered or followed and shown what to do by most other people when they become mainstream. And I think that that's probably why people hated her so much, because you tell the truth, and you're genuine, and you're down to earth, and you speak the reality of things.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear that. They just want to hear the BS behind what the media tells you, and everything's all rainbows and butterflies, even though they just tell you all negative shit on there. But you get what I'm saying with that. They don't want to believe the truth, and she spoke the truth, and that was an issue for people.
She's changed a lot, because she got involved in Kabbalah, and she went through quite a different stage. When she was married to Guy Ritchie, she was pretty cool, I gotta say. And then now, if you saw her a couple of weeks ago, actually, I think it was a couple of months now, she was on the award show, and she'd had a lot of plastic surgery.
Forgot about that.
Unrecognizable. I mean, just unrecognizable. She's a strong, independent woman, and women looked up to Madonna. She didn't give a shit what she said. She didn't care what people thought of her, and she stood her ground. And we loved her for it. And the cone bras, and I remember. I actually didn't get to see Madonna on tour. My sister went to see that. Was it Hanky Panky tour? It was, actually, and she wore these pants on stage saying "Spank Me" on it. It was, she was before her time, Madonna, but she's hated in some ways because people didn't want a woman to be that forward.
Yeah, which is totally true, because they don't, which is like, it's so erroneous. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's what they want. But like what you were saying with her, I almost totally forgot about that. Like that, how she came on the award shows looking like that worries me. That, okay, you did fall into the mainstream and you're now a puppet, because if you have to do that type of stuff to yourself, you're not okay internally. You're not okay if you have to externally do that stuff. I mean, to each their own, but to that degree, like unrecognizable, it's a little too much. That's not her. That's not how she used to be.
I think if you remember the what is it? Like a Prayer, that video. That was amazing when it came out, with the burning crucifixes, the black Jesus and everything. I think that was just beyond its time. And yet, as a youngster growing up, we were thinking, this is great, this is brilliant. But now you look back and think, why the Vatican and why the Catholic Church was like, no, don't want you here. And I think she's been excommunicated a few times as well. Quite right, Field Guy. Let me just bring this up. The Spice Girls. Did you have a favorite Spice Girl, Carly?
Oh, yes. Oh, what was her name? Baby Spice, the blonde one? Oh, but I also liked Sporty Spice. I liked them all. Which one was your favorite?
Yeah, interesting. I liked them all, actually. I think when they came because Britain had a few girl bands that had made a big difference. But when they came on, I think my favorite was Jerry. Like she was Ginger Spice, because she was just out there. She didn't care, and she went up to Prince Charles and pinched his bum and kissed him on the cheek. And I just thought that was an amazing thing to do. So she was my favorite, and I think that you could relate to those girls. You could relate, but Victoria Beckham was the one who probably took a lot of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Because she married David Beckham, as Phil Guys just actually put it here. She obviously married David Beckham and came a little bit bigger in her way. She hasn't had so much positive press. In fact, she's been kind of slated in lots of ways, because we love Jerry and Baby and Sporty and Scary, but we don't really like Posh. So yeah, again, like Phil Guy's quite right. Oh, and Randall's coming with these ladies.
I like her though. I feel like I could probably relate to her far too much.
Absolutely.
Being judged and critiqued by appearance rather than what's inside, which I think is often done to her, because people
Yeah.
don't truly care to actually get to know her. They're just like, oh, she married David Beckham, and they're just jealous.
Britney Spears, let's look at Britney Spears, because, there's a poor girl that has had so much rotten press. She's supposed to be a terrible mother, done this, done that. I don't believe any of that to be true. I think she was probably being used and abused herself, and I think she's controlled, and she probably doesn't have a voice at all. And I think poor Britney has been put into a particular, like if you look at her Instagram, that is not, half the time that isn't even Britney Spears. That's a double that they're using, which they use all the time, or they use green screen and stuff like that. But do you remember when Britney shaved her head?
Mm-hmm.
And she smashed a window with a umbrella, and everyone thought she was crazy, and they put her in that confinement, and for 13 years she'd had no voice.
Yeah. How messed up is that? Talk about, okay, did she know too much of the truth then too? Because it seemed like in the beginning that she was like a brainwashed puppeteer, even though she did her own thing. But what went down with that? I can't even remember the terminology right now, because it's been so long since I've read up on it. But like how her dad had not guardianship, but essentially that's what it was, of her at her age over like it's sad, but if you read between the lines, if you see between the veil, you can see what they're really doing when it comes to everything like this.
I also think as well, like people talk about the comeback for Britney Spears. Like you kind of heard her talk about, and what is it the press tends to do? They tend to build up, especially with women and mothers, they tend to build them up, and then they can bring them down. Truth Finder, I'm really sorry, but we don't bring anyone on unless I can see you in the chat room, and I cannot see your profile. So perhaps the moderators, you can have a chat with them, because we will not bring you in unless we can see you. Let's just move that. So moving on, and then going into the other one we were talking about was she had such bad press. Yoko Ono,
Mm-hmm.
John Lennon's obviously second wife. John Lennon was absolutely loved as part of the Beatles, but Yoko Ono was slated to be, she destroyed the Beatles, she split the Beatles up, she was the bad girl, he was obsessed with her, there was the loving and all that lot, but was she? Or was just John totally in love with her, and because he was so in love with her, it was all, he didn't want this anymore, he just wanted that. Do you remember Yoko Ono? Do you remember like seeing her on videos and stuff with John? What's your sort of feeling about her?
I do. Briefly, vaguely. But I just thought she's almost like comparative to Victoria, I would think, you know?
They
Like
hated her.
almost exactly. Hated for what? For beauty, for fame, for just speaking the truth, for being honest.
And, what makes a woman deadly, more deadly than a guy? What do you think makes a woman more deadly? If that is true, that the female is more deadlier than the male, what do you think makes that a woman more deadlier?
I think that leads us back to the basic of genetics and what I was talking about, and how we are literally wired differently, and women are wired to be able to multitask and handle doing more than one complex activity at a time, where men are basically tunnel vision and they can only do one thing at a time. So, that for starters, right there, I mean, our brains are always working. We're always running a million lists, a million things through our head that we have to do all week long, all day long, all month long, all year long. Like, our brains are constantly working. We're constantly thinking about a million different things at one time, where men, on the other hand, are typically only thinking about one thing at a time.
Well, I think men compartmentalize? They tend to like put things in where women are like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But I think using the case of Ruth Ellis, when she snapped, when her partner had abused her and he was abusive and drunk, and she lost the baby, she snapped. She just snapped using Rose West, different case. There is a woman that is completely just as deadly as the male. In fact, if anything, she's up there. She's up there with him as well. Myra Hindley, pretty much on the same level. I also think what makes a woman deadlier is her emotional side. I think that our hormones as well can. I mean, let's be honest. If you had a young prime minister and it was the time of the month, that might be a completely different decision they make. One on a budget or something, because we are governed mainly by our emotions, by our gut instinct. Men, I think, raw in a very different way. And I think women, especially a female narcissist, can also be more deadly than a male narcissist, because, like that female cat, there is a more of enjoyment to torture, to torment, to be vindictive. So I would say, in some ways, I actually think we are deadlier than the male. And I don't want to
Yeah,
admit that, but actually I think we might be.
I unfortunately think you're right. We
Can
may
you
be
go?
quite a bit more vindictive, was all I was gonna say, and vengeful. I would definitely say that that's a trait of women, at least maybe some.
Carly, do you know anyone in your life that you can bring to memory that has been you looked at and you thought, that is a woman that I need to fear, I need to worry about?
Oh yes, oh yes, many, many times. Far more
And,
than that, actually.
and what would you? I mean, what gave you that feeling? What was it that they showed? What would you pick up from them?
Well, it might have been something that was touched on earlier. I won't say specifically, but I'm very empathic, so I can pick up and read people's energies. And so if I'm coming up to you at Walmart or whatever at the checkout lane, or you're a worker and I'm coming to ask you a question, and I start walking up to you and you are looking at me and look me up and down and just immediately have this attitude, like I'm gonna be knowing that, hey, you're already judging and criticizing me and not looking at me as a person, just looking at me based off appearance. You're
Mhm.
not a type of person that I want to communicate with and be involved with, because that's just how, unfortunately, too many people are in this world anymore. I think that the problem is social media. To be honest, the number one problem is because everybody now thinks that their lives are keeping up with the Kardashians, and that their Instagram and their Facebook, that everybody in the world is watching it and their whole life is a TV show. And it's just, it's really like turning everybody into narcissist, you know? Everybody just sitting there waiting for that like and that love and that heart and that double tap, and it's destroying our world, to be honest. Sorry to go down that rabbit hole, but
There is that pressure. I mean, I think like even young girls today, you'll see them use filters to actually look a lot older. There's a lot of pressure. I think women in general throughout history have been viewed as dangerous, dodgy, whatever word, deadly. They've been seen as the dangerous one. Using Yoko Ono, she broke the Beatles up. Well, no, she didn't actually break the Beatles up. She had a hand in it, but actually there was problems going on before that. But she took a lot of hate for that. You talk about Wallis Simpson. She fell in love with a guy. He was going to be the next king of England, and he wanted to marry her and make her his wife. He wanted to share his life with her. She wasn't suitable. The powers that be didn't want that. They feared her, so she was pushed out. I think women over the years, I mean, somebody once said to me about Hillary Clinton, and I was like, well, thank God that she didn't become president, because I can just see how America would be now. And because I mean, she was, I never really believed much that came out of her mouth. And I know politicians, most of us don't believe what comes out of their mouth. But with Hillary Clinton, there was always that, yeah, no, you're just dodgy.
I feel like she wasn't like that at first, like way back when Bill was actually president. But then when she started to become a part of it, she became a puppet. And that's what I think happened, because she did not used to be like that. She did not. She was not.
Do you remember when she was married to Bill? She was very, very, well, I mean, no, she's still married to him, but I mean that back then they were seen as the couple. I don't think they've probably been a couple for quite a long time. But when you look at her now, there's something different about her. Her whole image is, it's almost like she's not there.
The eyes. It's the eyes.
It's like she's not there. Yeah. I'm glad I'm the only one that thinks that.
You can look into people's eyes and you can see if there's a soul in there or not.
And you can't. When I last saw her, she didn't look too well. And do you remember there was that occasion when she just suddenly collapsed? She was walking and then she just suddenly dropped.
Yeah.
And like, oh, she's ill. She got dizzy. But last time I saw that woman, and using this as well, Joan Rivers, just before Joan Rivers was sadly left us, somebody asked her about Michelle Obama. And she was saying, look, she's not real. She's a guy. Everybody knows she's a guy, she's and wow, Joni didn't stay around much longer after that. So you do wonder that if women, whether they are in public or behind the scenes, we are seen to be the dangerous one of the species, because we will cause a scene, we will cause a ruckus, we will draw a man away from something. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so many reasons, isn't it? Why they just hate us in one way and the other. And also, let's look at stalkers. Let's not forget about female stalkers who troll. And, if, say, for instance, you meet somebody and you're happy with them, but their ex or someone that wants them not happy. And this can be with guys as well, but it's almost like they've got that bunny boiler image. Glenn Close comes to mind, the whole, well, if I can't have you, no one else is going to have you, and I'm not going to be ignored by you. Because I wonder have you ever had that experience of being stalked yourself?
Well, since you asked, yes, many of times, and I'm currently in the midst, I can't say too much, but I'm actually currently in the midst of a cyber attack.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. It crosses state lines in the United States, so that makes it a federal crime, which means it goes to the FBI. So yes, unfortunately, I have many, many experiences with stalkers and creepers and cyber attacks now as well.
And how has that made you feel, Carly?
Honestly, it's fucked me up, pardon my language, but it's messed me up, to have the things that have done to me happen. It's unreal. Like, I mean, I knew people were awful out there, and I've had awful people throughout my life. I've really honestly dealt with them my whole life, to be honest. But this one, it hit far too close to home. I mean, my entire Wi-Fi router system was hacked and taken over. So that
Wow.
means that this person had access to all of my information on all of my devices.
Yeah, that's very creepy. Very, very creepy. And also, I think as well that it's the feeling that there's somebody out there that wants to cause you this pain, whether it be a guy, whether it be a woman. There's somebody out there that wants to cause you that.
Yes, and that's what I was talking to a friend about earlier today and yesterday even, is that the way I see it anymore is the way the world is quickly downward spiraling, continuing to, and just get worse and worse, is that everybody is literally just so miserable. They're so unhappy with themselves, with life, with jobs, with work, with everything, that they want to make everybody else as miserable as they are. And the
So,
perfect example is like driving. Driving used to be enjoyable. And I get that the population is increasing and whatever, especially in my area. But it used to be that you could go drive on back roads, and I used to love to turn up my music and, just rock out and go for a little cruise. But now you can't because people are on every back road, on the highway, on every road. It's all busy. But the worst part about it is, what have you noticed? What I noticed at least is so many times, like multiple times driving in one driving time of the day, more than one time it occurs that people cut me off and then go like this and like stare you down while you're driving like it was your fault, or they flick you off even when they're the ones that cut you off. So you see, while driving is a perfect example of how miserable people are. They're so stinking miserable that they want to cut you off and then glare at you or flick you off and be mad and crappy with you like it's your fault and your problem when it's them. Because what are they doing? Projecting, and that's what everybody does nowadays too. So everybody don't feel like things are always about you. It's just everybody projecting what's on themselves onto you.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that, when you're out in your car and you actually see other people looking at you, you're just like, there is that kind of misery in a lot of people these days. Like, just put a smile on your face. It doesn't cost much to be nice or civil, whatever. It costs nothing. But poor Elvis, look, he's in the building. We didn't snub you at all, Elvis. You're here. Good to see you in the building, my friend. One of these days I'm actually going to see Elvis on camera. I don't know how, but we're going to. I still want to bring up this comment from Michael. It was a woman who drove me to drink, but I forgot to write and thank her. Interesting thought. Okay.
I'm sorry
Steph
to
says,
hear that.
the men that lie to you and hide shit for years, then if you get upset, if you dare to get upset, they say you're the psycho bunny boiler and they will total slime balls. Absolutely spot on. You're absolutely
Ga-
spot on. It's so
gaslighting,
true.
gaslighting at its finest.
And I think it's easy, isn't it? Like, using some of these women over time. Let's just pick, I mean, obviously we're trying to keep using Yoko Ono as an example, using Meghan Markle, Princess Diana, and going into like Amber Heard and Wallace Simpson, Camilla Parker Bowles, women in general. These are the famous women that have all caused scenes. They've all caused history to change. They've all played a part in something major that has changed things. But I mean, women in general back in medieval times were seen as so dangerous as witches. You know, like so many of us were sent to hung, drowned, set on fire, tortured because we were seen as dangerous. We were bewitching and beguiling people and men. Um, and so throughout history, the woman's always been seen to be the dodgy one, the dangerous one, and it's still going on today.
AKA the I'm threatened by you one.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at what with what Steph is saying, and I don't think women, unless you have some form of mental health issues, or you come from a trauma and abusive background, I think it probably takes a lot for a woman to snap and turn into a bunny boiler. I think she has to put up with quite a lot before most women actually change. And I think it changes you forever. Like what you're going through right now, that's going to change you.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
be like just so on your guard, so cautious, right?
Exactly. I already am. Like anytime that any of my devices, when they're streaming, if they start to have internet connection errors, I start freaking out because that's how it started with the cyber attack. And the police said, that if that happens again, if they take over any of my devices again, then I need to call them out here so they can take another report. So, yeah, I'm just constantly on edge over here, like wondering, are my devices being hacked again? And I had to call my bank. I need to still call Social Security because they were closed on Friday because I need to forewarn all of them in case of potential identity theft because he has all of my information.
I also think as well, when I was in an abusive relationship, but and it was like there would be they would try and change people's perceptions of you. You'd just be normal, you just be your normal self, but they would want other people to say she's the crazy one, she's the mad one, you don't know what she's like when she's indoors. And it's like you're like, oh my God, I'm not this person, but it really changes your character. So are women deadlier? Yes, we can be. Yes, we have been. And yes, we will continue to be so. But I also think as well, we've been pushed into a corner that we have to come out fighting. We have to stand our ground and we have to fight for what we believe for and what we believe in. Because if we don't, we still like, and even in today's, without going into that subject, because I know it's a subject that Val wants to look at for another show, in the words of trans women as well, we are still having to fight for our right to be, we're women. We've taken years to get our stuff, years to get our vote, our wording, people to take us seriously. And now that's, we're having, and I've, we've all got different views and opinions on it, but it's like we are still having to stand our ground.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Guy, good point. Women have the maternal instinct, which in situations is very deadly against enemies and invading forces. Very, very true. Thank you very much, the Talk Lounge. We'll just put this little point on. You two are smoking hot. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me see what we've got down here. Steph, narcissists. They are amazing at making you question yourself. But man, if we try to do that to them, we'd be the bitches. Absolutely, Steph. I totally agree with you. So, what we've tried to show just in 1 hour, because before we end, is that yeah, there are women that are deadly, and there are women that are they're gonna cut your throat as you look at them, But there are also women that are also standing their ground and putting their voice out there and believing in themselves, and that makes them, in somewhat today's world, still a threat, still seen as a problem, still seen as someone like go away, be quiet, don't have an opinion. Michael, did Beatrix Potter had the potential to be a bunny boiler? Well, she might have done. Who knows? And Anita, I think women are born fighters. We have to be, absolutely. Um, and I just want to bring this up with Phil Guy. We need mods in here in case of more trolls. Yes, but we just ignore them. We just delete them and block them.
We
Carly,
got this.
thank you so much for being here today. You filled in the lovely Val could not be here and Rainy, but I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
You're so welcome. I definitely enjoyed myself. Thank you very much for having me on.
I didn't even know that you were going to bring those.
Look how perfect that was.
It must have been psychic. I'm just
telepathic.
Steph, you have to wonder how much shit did these women endure to push them to that point. If they're not the serial killer types, the other women through history have absolutely who've been verified. Well, one's going to be Queen of England in a short amount of weeks, so she did quite well on that one. But Carly, Val wants to say, look here, thank you, Carly, very much. So before I end this show and we go into the afterglow, which gives a chance for everybody else to come on, I just want to say that Wicked Women will be here every Sunday evening. Now, I have to get this right, and forgive me if I get it wrong, but I think it's 5 EST, 6 p.m. ET, and 11 p.m. on Great Britain, United Kingdom.
You were so close. 5 p.m.
almost there, aren't we?
5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Got it. See, look, and it's like normally Scotty does that bit, so I don't have to.
I got you.
But it's like, thank you so much for being a part of our first Wicked Women. Next week, the lovely Val will be here, and Rainy, as hopefully Sharon will be here as well. We hope you all have a really, really good week. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being a bit wicked. Absolutely, I don't believe that. And just putting this little thing up, look, that time may be my hot tub time on Sunday. So I'm going to take us out of Wicked Women. We will see you all next week, and we'll see you for the afterglow. Stay on if you want to come on board and you want to join me and Carly and ask any good questions. Come along, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes. And here we are.
Boy, that was that was no introduction. I was like, it popped up. You're in the show. I'm like, well,
I'm just bringing you in. It's midnight here in London. It is Monday. I'm bringing you in.
7:00 my time, 6:00 Carly's time.
Thank you, Steph. I'm glad you like it. And literally, this show tonight, we wanted to get it out there because so many people wanted to say it, and Wicked Women had already taken a bit of a setback, so we wanted to get it out. And I know Val is here tonight with us, and next week she will be here. And Carly did an amazing job. She had to literally cram some stuff in just a few hours, so I'm really grateful for that, Carly.
Oh, God said I forgot my wig. Oh no! Well, this morning when we knew Val was sick, I actually told Wendy I'd go drag just for her show so she could have a co-host. I was ready. I was ready to take that crucifixion from you guys. But no, women can be are more cunning of a species. They are.
Yeah.
People ask me, everybody knows me. I have the pit bulls, and I can tell you, my female's a whole lot smarter than the male. She's a whole lot more cunning. I tell them, she sleeps on the pillow. I make sure, oh, do you need anything? She was like, oh, okay. I'm just glad she lets me live indoors. Oh, just drink a Bud Light and you'll turn yellow. No, no Bud Light, no Michelob Light, no Anheuser, no Anheuser Busch products for me. We just drink a lot of brown water. But I do drink my water. It just has a brown color to it.
Thank you, Steph. Um, I think, though, you're right. Women are cunning, but we have to be because we've had to learn to be cunning, right?
Yeah.
Because we've had to fight for everything we've got, every equality, everything we've had to fight for. So that does make you on the cunning scale of things because, we have to get it one way or the other, right?
And we talked about 1883 and Yellowstone and stuff like that, and they have a lot of powerful women in them shows. And the English lady, I forget her name, she played in Red or whatever, and she told the guy, she said, "The men will kill you quickly. I will kill you slow and enjoy it." And she meant it.
That's true.
She said, "I would kill you." And speaking of even cats, I have a calico here. She was playing with this mouse to the point where I felt bad for it. And before I could get to it and take it away from her, she ate it in front of me like, fuck you. You're not taking away my pleasure. And I'm like, so yeah. And it is a whole, but like you said, you had to learn to become cunning. And when I say, I always said, you protect the weaker sex. And if you can't do it with brawn and muscle, you got to do it with wit and, and cunning and your attributes that you have. And a lot of people see that as a problem. Like I said, I was in the army. We got female soldiers. I didn't know what to do with them because they would eat their own. And women will tear down other women a whole lot quicker than they'll go after a male.
Mm-hmm. You got that right.
That's so lovely of you. Thank you. As I said, we just wanted to go with it tonight. So thank you for sticking with us. The thing is, remember Game of Thrones and Cersei? Did you ever see Game of Thrones, Carly, with Cersei? She was such a great character because she was such a shit. She was so awful that you actually loved to hate her because, she killed everybody. But do you remember that scene? Did you watch all 6 series?
I did not. I just had started with a friend and I was like, how have I not been watching this?
There's a scene where I won't tell you exactly where it is if you haven't seen it, but it's like
Yes.
she actually kills one of her enemies and she makes them watch someone they love die. And I think that is a woman thing to do. We have that twisted side to us where we're like, you're going to suffer now. We're going to make you watch, right? So
the vengefulness.
Lagatha in Vikings, when she lost her kingdom and she had to marry the guy to get her, and then right after she married him, he went back to the tent to think he was going to get that special consummation of the wedding. She pulls a knife out and guts him like a fish.
Yeah.
She said, "Now I'm the earlest or whatever you call it," because he was the earl, and but he thought, "I will show you your place." So she married him all right, but it was a short wedding or short marriage. Yeah. Right
Did you
after,
know much about Rose West and Myra Hindley? Have you heard about that, Michael, in America? Did you know about them?
no, I didn't haven't heard about them.
And what about a serial killer in America? Like, which one, a female serial killer? What woman comes to mind?
No, like I said, it's always been Bundy and Dahmer and stuff like that. The men usually take more front stage here because and it's,
I know I had to learn some in my serial killer class in undergrad school, but for some reason, none of them are coming to mind. I was going to go out to my shed today even and go dig through my college stuff and find my old books and notebooks because I was like, I got to brush back up on this knowledge. It's been a few years.
but
But I
yeah,
can't say a woman right now, but I do just have to share this fact because it was so cool. When I went to school, I went to Indiana University Northwest. So it was a local college, not the big one. So that was in Gary, Indiana, which used to be the #1 murder capital of the United States. And my professor was one of the chief of police for Hammonds, Indiana. And he actually worked on the John Wayne Gacy case. And
another
he
one.
worked on chiseling the bodies out of the concrete of the cement basement floor. And it was really cool because he brought in actual crime scene evidence photos of a woman that was stabbed 37 times and a
Wow.
woman that was beaten brutally and was hit so hard with a beer bottle on the top of her skull that it left a mark on her brain. And yeah, it was just fascinating. So unfortunately, I can't bring a woman's name to mind right now, but I just had to tell the John Wayne Gacy thing because that was
I
pretty
think
cool.
this
But
is
you
the
know,
one we were talking about. Is it Aileen Warnos? Is that how you pronounce it? She was the lady, I think, that used to she was have sex with truckers or stuff like that, and then she
yeah,
would kill them. And she
yeah,
was portrayed by Charlize Theron in the film Monster. And
yeah. No,
I
that's
actually watched a show with her she made just before she died, and I think it was quite honest. But she was a serial killer.
but you know what? I found. She said, you know what's really cool? He got to bring all this in, and and only a woman, unless you got a really really dark sense of humor. Carly's like, you know what's really cool? He brought in photo, and I've had exes that would watch like what is that Dateline? This person killed this many people. Women really really. There's a reason it's on Lifetime. Guys ain't watching that. We're impulsive.
Actually, Val says I should
We're
probably
pre
wait
we're
a minute. She
Yeah.
actually says she loves watching all those
Mm.
serial killers programs, and she's
Oh,
like,
well,
"Oh my gosh, I watch that all the time."
that's what I'm saying. There's
women
a reason that it's
we're
on Lifetime.
because we're premeditated. That's
It's
why.
here. It's if you look up premeditated, it's probably got a female picture. So, but no, but
Exactly.
I look at this like I said, and even with nurses, female nurses will, and there's a saying in the business, they will eat their young. They don't want to bring new nurses up in the profession. They figured they had to survive all the crap, and it's really really bad hazing. I saw that firsthand, and I'm like, wow, poor Ken. Oh, is KB tuning in? How is my brother from another mother?
I binge watch serial killer documentaries. Val's the woman. If you need something doing, she will do it for you. Um,
The next wife said, Michael, if I give you a shot of insulin, it looks like you have a heart attack.
Thing is, though, like I think when a woman does a murder, it's seen as a more terrible thing there than a man, because being a woman, we're supposed to be more gentle, the more nurturing, the more emotional. So when a woman is actually a very efficient killer and she does it more than once, it's kind of seen as like,
Case
wow.
Anthony, what was the lady that drowned her kids and packed it and she made up this big lie, had all these people looking for her two boys that she had drowned in the car. Casey Anthony. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and she's like, oh, this guy carjacked me. He stole my car, and she gave a whole story of what this guy looked like. She had, I forget where she was, but she's like, oh, he's African American. He took me at gunpoint. He's 6'2". He's muscular built, and she had basically described this whole guy
Susan
that was
Smith, is
fiction.
that right? Susan Smith, is that it?
No, it's Casey Anthony.
Okay.
And you want to talk about a sick, twisted woman? I was going to use the other word,
Go
I played.
ahead.
It's a woman
What you
show.
gonna say? See you next Tuesday? Is that what you're gonna
No,
say?
no, I was going to say bitch, but how do
Oh,
you kill your kids? Then you have all these other people run under the gauntlet to hide your evil. Michael,
Michael,
10,
too
10,
much
15
nicotine
years.
injected will kill you too.
Hey, he kills you
okay.
slower than a woman. But anyway, yeah, she drowned her children. Yes, she did. And like I said, she had a manhunt, a massive multi-state manhunt, looking for this guy who supposedly carjacked her car. But like I said, Casey was a mystery missing her children. Yeah.
I think when any woman does something, certainly through history, it seems to like. How many serial killers are men? Look at Jack the Ripper example, using that as a stuff. Like he's well known in history, but certain women on the history timeline, we get. It's like we're the tormentor, we're the tempting ones, we're the ones that's going to pull you to the dark side. We're going to take all this from you. We get a lot of bad press. And we were using, like saying tonight with Yoko Ono, for instance, like she probably had a hand in breaking the Beatles up, but
Uh,
she, I don't think, deserved everything she got.
But you know what's crazy? I heard that Oko Ono was roommates in college with Hillary Clinton.
Was she really?
Then another one, Hillary's stuff started. If you go down that rabbit hole, and Carly probably has. There was a woman who kept going around when Bill was Attorney General of Arkansas. She kept telling everybody, rubbing her belly, "I'm going to have Bill's baby. I want to have Bill's baby." Next thing you know, she commits suicide. And like I said, I always thought that men had a high body count. You want to talk about an evil bitch?
Mm,
You cross Hillary Clinton.
yeah, we were saying that, weren't we, earlier?
And yeah, I heard that, and I'm thinking, I have went down, but it started when Bill was Attorney General. She was the type of woman to get shit done,
Yeah.
and she, it's like Benghazi.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
used to get shit done in a good way.
no, I'll tell you what else she did.
No?
She defended a serial rapist in Arkansas that raped a woman so bad that she could not never reproduce children,
Wow.
and uh, and she laughed about it. She said, "It's not a matter of fact what he done or did not do. I got him off." And she liked about this woman. She's like, she should have told her story better. Look it up.
I
Yeah, yeah,
will. I will.
yeah. The evil goes way back with her.
What
I did
what do you
not know that.
Oh
what
yeah.
makes a woman deadly in your eyes, Michael? Like if I said to you, like, because I was saying this to Carly earlier on, what makes a woman more deadlier than a male? You were in the army, you were alongside female.
One, you underestimate them. That's like a lot of times suicide bombers are female. It
Right.
goes all the way back through even Vietnam era. Come up help my baby, and the baby's diapers full of explosive and nails and tacks and shrapnel. And then when as American men, we're taught protect women and children at all costs. So when you go towards them, or you think you see a woman is in harm's way, the white knight syndrome comes out, and you come out to protect her, not knowing that you're opening up your soft underbelly to whatever bad stuff is in store. And even in the army, we do bugles and stuff like that. And and they had this. Let me see how to politically correct describe the lady. She was Eskimo. She was not. But and I even told the drill sergeant, I can't fight her. That's a woman. You don't know where I grew up at. And I tell you what, I let my guard down, and she damn near took my head off my shoulders. And after that, you know what? I treated anybody that come with me the exact same way. If you want to put yourself in that position,
Yeah.
you are combative. And but what gets me is the Joe Rogan got a lot of crap when the Fox lady or whatever it is decided that he's going to identify a female, had the surgery, and he cracked two women's skull in the octagon.
Wow.
And now he finally got his ass handed to him by a biological female the other day that beat him like a rented mule. And
Good.
I'm like, yep, that's what I'm saying. And that's another thing. I have seen women, even my own mom. Oh, is that a tissue you're wearing? No, it's my man's ear. But anyway, no, Mila, be still. So speaking of the queen, she's right here. She like give me my attention. Like I said, women are very demanding of their time, no matter what species they are. And
Yeah.
but no, it's Mike. I think you nailed it. Underestimated
Not
that angry woman
denying it.
expense. That is it. And I was going to tell the story on Robertson. Robertson, like I said, I put it out there. If anybody's got a problem with it, my door's always open. I never lock it. And everybody's like, Mike, hey, even Wendy's asked me, how do you sleep at night? I says, face down, ass up. So if anybody don't like me, they can come by and kiss my ass. I don't care. And that's what happens when you turn 50 years old. I don't even look when I cross the street no more. I'm like, fuck it.
But I think, I remember when I was in my abusive relationship, I was actually thinking, I think they're right. You get pushed to a point where you just go, you're this normal woman that you think, I'm normal. I'm absolutely normal. I don't do anything like that. And then you get into a situation where you're pushed to the point of your sanity and you're like, I'm thinking up ways of killing them. Which way should I do it? What should I use? And then you realize that you have to get out, right? But unfortunately, some women don't, and they do go ahead with that, and that's when it becomes, the whole issue. Yes, Ken, you will be able to watch it again.
Yeah.
It will be on replay for you, and I'll put the link in there
Yeah.
as well. But I think Anita's got a great point where she says, underestimate an angry woman at your own expense.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I've told Wendy the story about my dad. My dad was an abusive cocksucker. He really was. Anything smaller than him, including his children and his wife, if you did not bow down to kiss his ass, he'd beat the shit out of you. And finally, and at the time, at 14 years old, I was fighting a grown man at 6'4", 200 pounds to save my mom. And one day, I remember I was laying in my room. We had a very small house, and he come in drunk from out treating all the other women like he should have been treating my mom. And she had this big 14-inch cast iron skillet. And my mom was a small lady. She passed in 2015. And I remember laying in bed because, we could hear his truck pull in. And I thought, oh, goddamn, here it comes again. And she rung that cast iron skillet like a fucking church bell. And I got up the next morning. My mom was fixing us breakfast. She said, Michael, eat your eggs and toast and go outside and play. I said, he's laying in the floor. She said, hopefully some bitch is dead.
God.
And I did. I stepped over him because I did not want to be the second ringing of the church bell. And that's the day the power dynamics swapped in the house I grew up. He got up. He's like, "Oh damn! I think I walked into something." She said, "If you do ever put your hands on me or my children again," she said, "the next thing you walk into will be a whole lot bigger and moving a whole lot faster."
So she was pushed absolutely to that
And
point.
and that's what I said. She had finally had enough, but he brought it on himself. Don't have any pity for him when he saw it. You know what I'm saying? He shows up to my house now looking for pity, even as an old man. I have none whatsoever.
And I think you're right. And I think looking at some of these, sorry, Carly, looking at some of the women that we talked about tonight, like using Amber Heard. Let's talk about Amber Heard for a second. There's a woman that said she was absolutely beaten black and blue by Johnny Depp using his fist with all his rings on. Well, I'm sorry, but if anyone hits you with all those rings on, you're going to have massive bruising, and you would be taking photographs of it, and you wouldn't be able to just hide it. You just wouldn't. But I mean, she didn't do a lot for the whole woman movement. That's for sure, because she
heard it. She heard it more than anything else.
Put it back.
And and everybody looked at her and like, oh, I would love her so much. I said, that woman do everything but shit in the bed. Oh yeah, no, I'm wrong. She did that also. What kind of manners? It's bad breeding. Just because somebody's pretty with money don't mean they have good breeding or good hygiene habits.
Well, yeah. Who can forget that one? That's for sure. And Carly, do you think when you look at Amber Heard now, like she was in Aquaman, wasn't it?
Aquaman, yeah.
I've never seen it, so I don't know. But would you go and see a movie with Amber Heard in it now?
Just because of curiosity, I think I would.
Yeah.
Just for curiosity, cat.
Yeah.
But no. I got
just to see, to see what they actually tried to portray and make up was real and not real, and be able to, contradict it with what I know. I like to do those type of things because, like I said, I studied law and pre-law. My dream was to be an attorney, so looking at both sides of everything is something that I do always when it comes to anything, from this to that to you name it. So,
I think that the truth is that there are dangerous women out there just as much as there are dangerous men. The fact is that we're seen as the nurturing breed, and the fact that it's not seen that a woman would do that, but then we all know women that cut babies out of other women's tummies because they couldn't have a baby, and you just think to yourself, how could you do that? But it happens because something just turns. And when I worked when I counseled in prisons and stuff like that, I was more in the male side. I wasn't in the female. But you hear all these stories and you see like some backgrounds lead us to go down a dark path, which sadly takes us down the dangerous path of women are deadly.
Sorry, Charlie.
I was just going to say, and that just leads me, because you're talking about like hormones and things like that, to say like I myself experience hormonal imbalances and have since the starting of my puberty. And to experience those type of things is one thing, but I also have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, which
Me too.
was not diagnosed. I didn't know that, which was
Mhm.
not diagnosed until after I gave birth to my daughter. So, like 7 years ago now, a year later after I given birth to her. And my thyroid is so finicky that I have to take what's called Tyrosint, which is the only hypoallergenic thyroid medicine there is out there. And there's the dosages that I take, it's either 100 micrograms or 112. And that difference of 12 micrograms is make or break for me because I was on just 112 micrograms. I mean, I was like this, like hormones, emotions, crazier than ever. And I have to actually alternate between the 112 and the 100 every other day to maintain my thyroid. Otherwise, that tiny bit of difference, that 12 microgram difference is like make or break for me. So that's just somebody with a thyroid issue, let alone the
I get it.
hormonal issues, let alone trauma, let alone past, so like not to defend at all, serial killers or anybody that does those things, but I don't think people actually realize that that's what's happened. Like they were extremely effed up from things in their past that they were never sought treatment for or help for, and that is what turned them into making these coping mechanisms that turns them into being a narcissist or one of bipolar or any of those types of things. Any of those mental diagnoses are actually all, for the most part, caused by trauma.
Uh,
I mean, I
it
have
is like the
Hashimoto's.
sociopaths and psychopaths. Psychopaths are
Yep.
born.
Yeah,
Sociopaths are made.
absolutely.
And like you said, the trauma, and that's what I was going to say. I've had a lot of people that I've known. I was married to a nurse, and they would do drills once a month. It's called missing baby drill. Because there was women stealing newborns out of the nursery.
Yep.
And like I said, being a big guy, and when you go out, they station nurses and armed doors at the guards, or the nurses and guards at the doors, and
Oh yeah.
backpacks are searched, and all this. And the way
Oh
they'd
yeah.
run it is they'd put a baby doll in a bag, and to see if everybody could seal off the hospital. And I actually asked Mac's wife, I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing? She's like, Michael, try to get out, try to get out the door. She said, you think your guys are very thorough when it comes to searches? You saw nothing, when it comes to a missing baby in a hospital, because, these nurses take that very, very serious. I guess their maternal instincts set in. And I'm like, okay. So one day I got to carry the baby doll out. And I tell you what, just, well, I mean, she was a really lovely lady. She was built like a linebacker. But, I told her, I said, no, fuck you. You're not getting my backpack. I was stuck to the ground. And she took the baby doll out of my backpack.
I
She said,
believe it.
most of the time they look for women. I said, I just wanted to test your gangster. And I did.
Steph
And,
asked, do you have Hashimoto's? Yes, she does, and we both do. I didn't realize that tonight, Carly. I didn't realize that you and I both have. I have an underactive thyroid, and I have Hashimoto's, and it's a difficult disease because it's autoimmune. And it's like for anyone who doesn't know what Hashimoto's is, it means that your immune system thinks that your thyroid is being attacked and sends lots of the antibodies up there and eats it away until there's nothing left of it, which gives you nothing but problems. And you have to take, synthetic hormones and everything like thyroxine to keep yourself sane. But I remember when I wasn't diagnosed, and I thought I was going crazy because I would have all these horrible feelings. My brain would be all over the place. I would, I couldn't sleep. I was restless. I was anxious. I would wake up crying. Like adrenaline was pouring through me. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And all my tests were normal. No, we don't want to give you it yet because you're not borderline. And I was like, if you don't give it to me, I'm going to go and line the traffic. And then eventually they gave it to me. Within 3 weeks of taking it, I was normal, back to myself. So I get it. If you don't get, if you've got a mental health issue, if you've got a hormone issue or an endocrine issue, anything like that, it can really change you as a person.
all right, I got
Oh
a question
yes, and the thyroid, real quick, I just have to say the thyroid literally it is in every cell of your body. So it affects everything from hair to skin to nails to digestive system
Yeah.
to sleep to insomnia to anxiety to emotions to depression to mental, you name it, your thyroid affects it. It controls everything. It's in every single cell of your body, and that is just one of the 10 plus chronic illnesses that I have.
All right.
Elvis, I'm sorry to hear that. Really, really
Yeah.
sorry. It's a very nasty operation. It's a very bloody operation. Every time you talk to the doctor and they're like, well, maybe you should take it out. They're like, no, we don't really want to take it out unless we have to, because it's right across your voice box. And my one, I've actually got I think it's like a cyst or a lymph node that's swollen.
A goiter, a nodule, or a goiter.
Long. And when they told
Yep.
me that, I was like, how? And sometimes when I eat, do you can feel them when you eat?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have difficulty swallowing. Like
Okay.
if you look now, you can see.
Yeah, I
And
think.
if you can see, let me try and get close and you can see, because this is something I learned, which I most people don't know, is can you see those two lines
I can
very
see.
vaguely?
Yeah.
That is my thyroid being inflamed. It's so hard with the camera. I'm doing like opposites. That is
Yeah.
my thyroid being inflamed.
Yeah,
So
mine comes up too.
if you have two lines like that, that can be very, very minimal. You don't hardly see it. Like that is showing initial signs of your thyroid being inflamed, because most people don't know this either. Your thyroid, especially when it comes to Hashimoto's or Graves, the two thyroid diseases you can have, hypo and hyper, your body is attacking your thyroid for years and years and years before it shows up with the antibody test. And
Right.
before it even shows up with your TSH, it goes on even years longer. So if they would test sooner for the antibodies, they could pick up on these autoimmune diagnoses of the thyroid rather than waiting until after the fact. And after your TSH is so messed up, to then test for antibodies, and your
Yeah.
antibodies are already through the roof. It's already
That's
too late. Like it's been
after.
going on and building for years and years and years before you actually get diagnosed.
I mean, that was the same with me, because the thing is, I had a really strange experience in 2008. I came back from Canada, like, because I lived out there for a couple of years, and I came home. And before I come home, my friend said to me, "You need to go and get your thyroid checked." She's a psychic, and I said, "Really?" She's like, "Just you need to do it. I've just got this feeling. Trust me on it." So I came home, didn't do anything about it. Went to the doctor's one day, and the doctor's kind of staring at me like this. And I've gone there for some other reason. She's gone, "Wendy, do you mind if I send you for a thyroid scan?" And I said, "Why?" So she said, just trust me on this. Let me send you for it." Well, she gave it to me. I didn't do it. I didn't take it for ages. Eventually, I sent it off, and they took me on. They put a needle through my throat, the
An
needle in
FNA,
thyroid, without any kind of stuff. You're just
numbing,
lying there with
no.
the needle going in your throat. It's incredibly painful. It hurts, and it inflames your thyroid for weeks afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And they said to me, I had three. I had one here, and there's one here, and there was another one. Those two went, but the big one hasn't gone, and it has to be checked for cancer regularly. But I remember even my dog's got an underactive thyroid. He's on thyroxine as well, and you don't
Wow.
realize that your hormones out of whack change you as a person. After postnatal depression or PTSD or anything like that, it changes a person, and you feel like you feel like you're going
Crazy, like you said.
crazy. Yeah.
Crazy. Crazy.
Oh,
There's
speaking
no
speaking
other
of you
way.
talking about the synthetic hormones, do you remember the Nashville shooter that just happened? And I could not figure out in my life why anybody would want to pump artificial hormones into their body and expect to be not affected, because hormones up or down, male or female. Oh, can't you hear me? Can you
No,
hear me?
sorry, I was
Talking
responding
to
to comments.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was going to say, I was going to say, I thought I had a very deep radio voice, but okay. But no, what do you think
You're
about the
good.
synthetic hormones? These people pump this into their bodies, you know, and think
I'll
you're
tell
going
you. I'll tell you. It's a direct attack at the endocrine system. What the fuck else
Right.
do you think it is? They're
Is it?
directly attacking and controlling and mind controlling and mind fucking people through the endocrine system number one. Just
Well,
saying.
it's true because, like with animals,
Because
like
because
I
because too sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's so
go for it.
crucial.
Go for it.
You know with the thyroid alone, but this literally actually goes for everybody. Our bodies are not made or designed to tolerate gluten, dairy, or soy at all, especially when you have thyroid issues.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All of those things inflame your body. Inflammation in your body begins to cause so many issues. It becomes chronically inflamed as you continue exposing your body to these things that were naturally even not designed to be able to digest, period. It causes so many digestive issues. It causes so many things like I could go on and on about a show about just about what we all should eat, period, without even having
Yeah.
autoimmune issues.
I absolutely with you because, like, for me to get help, it took arguing, fighting, many years of my antibodies being so high. And with Henry, when he had his, I kept saying to the vet was like, yeah, but we don't want to give it yet in case, they want you to get to a point where you're on your knees and you can't actually cope with anything anymore. And eventually they gave it to him. And I actually wonder if the cat's got problems now because of certain issues. So I think that people should never underestimate the hormone level and what it can do to a person.
There are fillers in every single thyroid medication except the one I told you I'm on, the only one hypoallergenic thyroid medicine called Tyrosint. All the others, levothyroxine, Synthroid, Cytomel, all the generic brands, all of those contain excipients. Excipients are fillers. Fillers are additives that they add to the pills to fill them up. So, guess what? Most of those fillers contain corn, which, if you have thyroid issues, corn is a huge no no. Our bodies can't digest it and it causes major complications. It has, I can't remember all the others, but there's multiple excipients that are in the basic thyroid medications themselves that are things that affect the thyroid adversely and negatively to begin with. So why the F are they even prescribing medicines containing these type of fillers? So my point with that being, if you have issues with your thyroid medicine, request your doctor to prescribe you Tyrosint, Tirosint, and you're going to probably need a prior authorization for it, a PA, which means your doctor's going to have to submit some additional information to get your insurance to approve it. But if my insurance approves it, your insurance should approve it. So do it.
See, over here it's very different because we don't have to be insured. They will our prescriptions are all, we pay, if you're working, you pay a very small amount for a prescription, but most of them are covered. And
That's
so
good.
they give you thyroxine, and I'm on 25, I think it's 25 mcg of it. And the difference within weeks, I was, and when they're talking about that, when you're so ill or when you're so, there's something that hasn't been diagnosed yet, whether, as I said, in PTSD,
Yeah.
postnatal depression, PMS, endocrine, any kind of issue, when you don't get the help, you turn into someone that you don't want to be, and you don't mean to be that person, but because you're not getting the help for it. So when stuff like that happens, you can understand when someone loses the plot and react. So I think you need to become a doctor, Carly, because you could help, you could like make such a big difference for us ones that are going through it.
Thank you. Thank you. I need to start, like, I don't know, talking on my own channel because I've gone like live on my daughter's Facebook because my daughter has special needs and many medical complexities. And I have a Facebook page for her that I post updates and things on and everything. And we would go live and like people would talk and I'd answer questions and everything. But like, yeah, there's just so much that people don't know. And I have been researching medical stuff. I was a graduate research assistant in my graduate classes of college and everything. And especially when it comes to medical, I've literally been researching it my entire life for myself, for my family, for everyone. So I have a very vast knowledge in medical information and terminology.
And you know what? I think hopefully if anyone's watching this tonight or watches it on a replay and they stay to the end and hear it, there's some amazing points that you've brought up, because I think the more understanding there needs to be about what you can't see, but what's affecting you physically, is because with some of my health
That's
conditions, you can't see them, but
You
they're
can't
there.
see them. You can't see them. That's what we talked about. They're called invisible chronic illnesses. You're sick, but on the outside, and that's what I run into all the time. I don't look like I'm sick, but I'm sick AF on the inside.
Because even
And
back in the day, they didn't even know what microids was, so they couldn't even figure out like the bubonic
yeah,
plague.
yeah.
And then
And the key with your doctors is to find the good doctors, find the right doctors, find the doctors that listen to your clinical feelings and side effects, not just based off of the numbers. Because I'll tell you this too, when it comes to hypothyroidism, you are taking medicine to suppress your thyroid, to suppress your TSH. So, what does that mean? It's suppressing it. So, that's going to bring your TSH as close to zero as possible. But most doctors don't look at it that way. They have a huge range for your TSH, which is way off. Because for me, if I go anywhere above like a 0.25, which most doctors wouldn't even let you be on, because if you're like below a 1, they freak out, but you're suppressing it. So what do you expect? It's going to get close to zero as possible, if not zero itself. But if mine gets too close to zero, I get all haywire and can't sleep, and all of those issues I talked about before are all amplified and exasperated. So if you have issues with your thyroid medicine, get on Tyrosint. It's the only hypoallergenic thyroid medicine there is. All your
I've
doctor
never
has to
heard of
do
it.
is do a PA in the US. You need a prior authorization, and boom, have your doctor say you're allergic to all the other medications. Problem solved.
I've never heard of that, so it's something I'll check out over
I
here. It
would
might
look into it. Look into it, because I'm serious. When I would take Synthroid or levothyroxine, I felt
wow.
batshit fucking crazy.
And
Pardon my language, but they made me insane.
I take
Insane.
levothyroxine, and I have to be honest, it was my turning point. And what works for one may not work for another, and there are very different things. But I
Oh
think the
yeah.
most thing what I found is that when you have a condition that people can't see and it affects you, it's not just the symptoms you're having to put up with and live with. It's the physical side of people's ignorance looking at you going, well, what's wrong with you? You know, you're absolutely fine. You look fine. And inside you're fighting a battle. So you're not only having a physical battle to deal with, you're also having to deal with the mental side of it and other people's ignorance. I mean, so many times I saw a doctor and they were like, you need to go and see someone else so we can see someone who's more ill than you are, because you're obviously fine, because I didn't look it. But inside, I was so ill. So, you know, I get it totally. And I spent a lot of money trying to get my health back, because, you know, if you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything.
Stand by for 1 second. I have some books that I need to share with you all. I think they're right over here. The first, most important one is the book called The Body Keeps the Score.
Okay.
And what it talks about is literally how, if you don't, like I was saying, treat and handle your traumas, you are going to start manifesting them physically in
Absolutely.
autoimmune diseases
Bottle girl.
and chronic illnesses.
Yep.
So,
Keep this down.
I'm going to go the right way. The body keeps
Oh,
score.
absolutely. I've got it. Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. It looks like a good book.
Very good book. Book number 1, okay?
What can I get it
Next
on
book.
audio book if I can't read?
Yeah, I can send it to you guys too. It's
Okay.
on. They're all on Amazon. Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, good guy. Absolutely good guy. Yeah, Joe Dispenza. Very good guy.
That's it.
These books have the answers to the keys of life. Hold on while Roger gets the rest of them.
She said why she
Uh,
whistles.
Biology Beyond Belief. Biology Beyond Belief by Bruce Lipton.
Let's
I
bring
always
it.
can't get it right. There we go. Which way? Which way? That way, that way, that way. Nope, 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 nope.
Yeah.
That way, other way.
Belief. Okay. Yeah.
Next, why is your brain not working? This is a huge, long book by Dr. Datus. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's phenomenal.
That looks a great book. Datus Karazian? Something like that.
Something like that.
Steph, I can understand where you're coming from because I actually had endometriosis and obviously that stopped a couple of years ago. But it is a
Power belief.
terrible,
The
terrible
Dr.
thing. You have my sympathy because I couldn't have children. I lost two, but I couldn't have any more. And they left me and caused all kinds of problems. So you have my complete sympathy.
I'm
And that's
so
another thing
sorry.
that I get when
They
people
think
say
I have that too.
they say identify as no, you don't know the struggles that women go through, and Wendy knows. I'm very whatever, and it's like before we was on Valerie show, and they said sister wives. I said, well, if you get one hand, if you're gonna have sister wives, why can't women have brother husbands? And they're like, what? A man said that? Hey, I'm all about fair play. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. As long as the playing field is level and equal, we'll wear it out. Don't play the
Okay, I
game.
have
Oh,
three more.
three more.
Three
How to
more.
do that work? Dr. Nicole Lipera.
I'm so bad. There we go.
There you go. Stop.
We got
Her
it.
name, her handle on Instagram is the Holistic Psychologist. She's really, really good, really good.
I do that with Sharon.
Last two.
Thriving as an empath. Yeah, 365 days of self-care for sensitive people.
Oh,
Terry, you're late. Where you been?
yeah. The Speedo
And then
King.
this one is a little different, but it's fun.
The subtle art of not giving a fuck. That sounds like a good book.
Damn, did I write that one?
Life-changing books, I'm telling you. I've done years of research to find these books.
Just a win. Wendy said something about women could be wicked or whatever. But, since Terry is here and he's got a little lost, he always thinks women are naughty. How does Wendy say it? Naughty? I can't even do it.
Naughty.
Naughty, naughty, naughty.
Naughty.
There you
Naughty,
go, Uncle Terry.
naughty.
I took care of it for you.
Robert. Well, for some reason, when we set up, it took Scotty and I 2 hours yesterday to even install StreamYard and YouTube. It should be on Facebook. For some reason, it's not, but we will put the replay on there today. And, I have to say, for a first show, there was everything in life. There's a bit of technical difficulty, but we did it. And Carly, you were absolutely amazing to come on, and I hope you will come on again, Wicked Women, and you will join the girls. And it's good that Michael, you were here as well, because to have a guy's input is really, really important. And I think that as we all have to stick together. And being an empath myself, being a clairvoyant, I use the tarot. I'm an empath. I've got all that side to me as well. Sometimes when I'm actually reading for people, I pick up physical ailments, so I can feel it in the energy. But when you've got the thing on your throat and you see someone else with it, you're like, oh my God, you've got the same as me. Look, and you're showing each other's like fire off, and you don't feel like a freak so much, right?
Oh.
Yeah, the Facebook link went to the StreamYard. Okay, thanks for letting us know. We will get it sorted by next week. So before we end the show, I have to say Wicked Women will be back next Sunday. Val will be here, God willing, and Rainy too. And if not, then it will just be Val. But Michael, sorry, what was it you wanted to
I was
say?
going to say, because of where the she mag, I just let all the guys and girls know I do not physically own a tie. If you want to see me in a tie, you're going to have to take care of that when you
You
give
don't
me.
have a tie? Oh, I'm sure we
No,
can take care of that.
no, I wouldn't own such a thing. But
Carly, it would be lovely if you joined us again, and I'm hoping next week to have another guest come and join us from. Here comes Val. Look, here she is. She's still with us. I'll be here. Val, get better soon. We love you.
Pepto Bismol, and
Feel
NyQuil.
Yeah,
better.
we're both links on FB. Randall says, "See, they were on there." Just Nita wants to say, Carly, can you show the throat thing again?
Move forward. Hold on. It's kind of hard to see with my bright lights, but do you see those two lines?
Yeah, yours is quite inflamed right now.
It is. It is. I'm in a thyroid and fibromyalgia
Yeah,
flare
I
right
had
now,
one.
but like when they're like this, like you can see them. They're just very slight, distinct, like creases is what I would call them. If you see those on yourself or anybody, that is the indicator of your thyroid being inflamed. That is the first sign of it externally. And the worst part is by the time it's showing that externally, like I was saying, it's already been wreaking havoc on your thyroid for like probably years before that, before it gets to this point.
I also think as well, like, when they put the needle in me in the beginning of this year, he was so good. He was, but it bruised it so
Oh
much.
yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
I actually got it actually inflamed it, so I couldn't talk. And I remember Michael and I was actually writing to Michael saying, I can't talk to you right now because my throat is so sore. I can't talk, and I'm not allowed to talk for certain hours because it was so inflamed. So I had an ice block on it, and I was, trying to keep it really, really cool. And we were like just messaging, until I could actually talk again. And it took weeks.
Yeah, you had to
Oh,
save
I
your
bet.
voice for Tuesdays, and it was, and but I felt so bad for it, and I don't want to screw up my grammar, whatever, because Wendy, the school teacher, will say, "Do what?" And we already have a language block, even though we both speak English. The English language is very different between the UK and the US. And some things you say here is appropriate, and some of the things you say that is appropriate here is not so appropriate there. So now people ask me, "Hey, Michael, are you bilingual?" Yes, I am. I speak Brit, and but no, but and and that's what I'm saying. I think what's his name? Uncle Dave said it one time. He said we are common people separated by an identical
Yeah,
language, and
and
and it's really like I said, but her throat was so bad when it was inflamed that she had to save it every bit she had.
I couldn't
But,
tell because all of that needle, he punctured it, and you could see it, Carly. It was like,
Oh,
um,
I believe it. I had a friend that when she had her thyroid surgery, actually from cancer, she had to have part of it removed. They messed with her vocal cords and she had to have a vocal cord surgery. And I haven't had an FNA yet. That's what they call it in the US. But my one of my nodules has continued to grow like at least 0.5 centimeters, I believe it is.
millimeter.
Like no, maybe milliliters. I don't know. And it's grown that much every year. And so when I saw my endocrinologist last, I was like, I'm really worried about this because I have a precancerous stomach condition, and they found precancerous polyps in my colon when they did a colonoscopy 3 years ago. And so I told him, I'm like really worried about this. And he said that if it grows, again with the next scan in a year, that he'll make sure that I go to a different hospital so I can get the FNA, because according to the FNA guidelines. That's why I was saying when it comes to even your TSH, they have such a huge range. So when it comes to the FNA too, they have such a huge range. And it's like, so you would rather my nodule, I believe it's 2.5 millimeters, centimeters, whichever, 2.5 millimeters they want it to grow to before they'll even do an FNA. And it's like, okay, let's wait and let it keep growing and cancer potentially spread, and then let's do an FNA. Like, what
I
kind
know.
of healthcare is that,
It's weird.
US?
It's like the VA, which Wendy walked me through that. I had an issue at the VA. They asked me why I don't like socialized medicine. The VA is very socialized when it comes to medicine.
They're
I went in
bad.
and saw this dickhead doctor, and I was having my blood pressure go way high, drop way down, and that's like this. And she was having a throat issue at the time, so a lot of it, was had to be tooth texting. my heart rate would go up, boom, 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 boom. And when you're 50 years old and have the lifestyle that I have, when your heart starts beating hard in your chest, start thinking, well, hell, I've had a good run. And this dickhead doctor, I tell him, I say, hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. He's like, this is DR. You have one symptom. And I looked at him, I'm like, fuck me, dude. It could all be combined. I'm combat medic trained. I said, you triage the whole patient. You just don't pick a symptom. And finally, we started getting it straightened out. And even my PA at the VA, Dr. Short, is a really good lady, really sweetheart. But she is still limited, and she has to justify everything she does for a veteran through the
Yeah,
VA.
I can imagine.
And it's like, oh well, we got to send you for a CAT scan. And I just had my CAT scan done. And even the little girl that did my CAT scan for my back, she's like, holy shit, you walked in here without any aids. I'm like, yeah, I do it every day. She's like, I've seen people with less shit in their back than you have come in a wheelchair. I said, that's because they're fucking weak. You
I
just
think that you have to fight these days, and it's so wrong because, like, it seems to just get normal health care, like even to see a doctor, you got to fight for it. I mean, I've got like autoimmune disorders, more than one, and they all intermingle with each other. It started with chronic fatigue, it went to endometriosis. From that department, it went to all lots of others. But you know what? You keep going, and the thing about you, Carly, is that you're an inspiration to others because you share your story, and people are, that's what I truly think why we suffer in life. And I know it sounds wrong, but without us suffering, we don't understand. And when we suffer, we can help. And if you make a difference to one person, then that's brilliant. And that's why when I talk to Scotty about Scotty, I really want to do this podcast for women where I can bring women on and men to join into the conversation. We want to help other women by bringing up topics that predominantly is for women, but men can join in. So I really hope, as I end the show, because I have to go, because it is now almost 1 o'clock in the UK AM. I really hope that someone can watch the show tonight and enjoyed it, got something from it, and will come back again next week and every week and enjoy the show. So normally Scotty would say live long and prosper, but out of memory of Jerry Springer, who sadly died this week, he used to end his show with take care of yourself and each other. So until next week, I will say goodbye. Bye, guys.